There you go. DJ Tibbs, and he's going to speak on some pretty cool things, so please listen.
Thank you. So I want to kind of start off by saying that you don't necessarily need to have a board to start DJing. I started with a piano plugged into my computer with a program like that. And I was able to just program everything, so different buttons on my keyboard to different things on the program. So you don't need to just start off with just a board to be able to start. You can even just use your computer. And I kind of started off by playing instruments. I used to play piano, drums, bass, and guitar. And while I was learning how to record and write my own music, I decided that I wanted to experiment DJing, kind of explore the different options of using a DJ board while you're doing recording programs. It didn't pan out, unfortunately. I couldn't do anything that I wanted to, but I played with it more, and friends gave me support. I would play at my house, and I would meet other DJs who would really just kind of inspire you and teach you how to get out, put yourself out there, and really try and book yourself shows even though you're nervous. And I think that's a really important thing to remember, is that fellow DJs, as us, none of us are competition to each other. We're all just friends in the industry. We're not working against each other. We're all supporting each other. So I don't necessarily do weddings, or I don't necessarily go out and do clubs anymore. I'm more doing festivals. But even if I was a wedding DJ, it would be more, I would see an opportunity to collaborate. Or if I was doing karaoke, I'd see an opportunity to collaborate instead of saying, oh, that's my competition. We're not enemies, we're all friends in the industry. And we can always learn something from each other. So what I want to talk about a little bit is kind of the sound design, getting your speakers on stage and figuring out the best way to make them work. So what you can do is there's powered speakers and there's passive. So powered, you got to plug them into power, and you plug them in through your mixer directly in. They're heavy. They are expensive. You can also do passive speakers, and passive means that the power cord doesn't go right into them, and you get a little more control that way. So there's a couple of things that can arise while you're out in the field DJing, depending on your equipment, and there's a few quick things you can do to kind of fix them and stop your sound from just stopping, or stop yourself from breaking your gear. So a lot of the times on your board, and I'm sure people have seen mixers, you've seen even the green lines that bounce up when you're listening to music, and it goes red at the top of it, and there's a little yellow spot in there. So every time you bring your music all the way up to the red spot, you're going to actually hear the difference in the quality of the sound coming through. And that puts you in a position where you risk damaging your speakers and your equipment. Obviously, when it's your own equipment, you're going to be a little more careful with it because you spent all your money on that. But besides just protecting your equipment, the quality of the actual song will change. And even though you may not hear it, over time, it's going to start decreasing the quality that comes out through your speakers, and you're going to end up buying new gear. So practicing at home and making sure your levels are not, we call it clipping when it goes in the red. Everybody knows clipping, and nobody likes clipping. And that's one of the biggest complaints that other DJs have with each other, or other musicians, as they look over and they see it in the red. And you're like, you're clipping, you're breaking speakers. So one of the other things that you'll have is sometimes your speaker will just completely stop working. You'll lose power, you'll lose everything for it. And in a situation like that, it brings me back to making friends in the industry. So I remember specifically a show where I was doing a show in New Paltz, and there was about 250 people there. And it was my own gear. Right in the middle of it, I lost half my volume. And I'm sure we've all had situations like that where all of a sudden everything's going great, your volume drops out, so you start scrambling, right? You're like, well, okay, what's wrong with my board? What happened? The best thing to do is just stay calm and think about everything from start to finish. So the first thing that comes through is it comes from your computer, right? If you're using digital, if you're using a turntable, it comes right from your actual vinyl. It goes through the needle, then it goes into the mixer. On our digital boards, it's all connected, so there's no cables in between. So the first thing you do is you make sure, okay, you'll always have a green line coming from your your track is what we call it. Each, you have 1, 2, for some you have 1, 2, 3, 4. But you want to look and make sure, okay, my volume's up. I'm still on my green. I'm still having sound go through what is then called our master, which goes out to our speakers. So if you look at all that, next you look at your speakers, but the best thing I can tell you is just remain calm and think about it one step at a time. Because we've all been there where our gear just stops working, whether it be even a TV, whether it be one part of our system, whether it be our computer. And that's another thing I can attest, and everyone back here knows, always bring backups of everything. If you can afford a backup computer, that's great, but not everybody can. I just bring a flash drive that has extra music on it. Backup power cords. Power cords break consistently. Audio cables. You know, just if you want to really be a mobile DJ, you don't have to have the fanciest stuff, you know. You don't have to have the TVs and the speakers and everything like that, but you want to make sure that you know what your gear is, you do your research for it, and that you want to make sure that you have some backups. And practicing and playing with your gear at home, learning the limits of it, you know, learning how loud can it get before it starts going in the red is a really important tool that I often even forget and catch myself at home hourly, just playing with my gear and exploring it. I guess I want to talk next about using the different programs as well. So I think a lot of people stick to one program when they're DJing, and you hear it right now, there's Tractor and Serato. That's what everybody talks about. But there are a bunch of different options out there, and I think it's important to explore it, learn what's more comfortable with for you. Because when I first started, there's times, Stephanie uses virtual DJ. There's times that I'll just go to virtual DJ in the middle of a gig because I like the way it works more for what I'm trying to do. And I think exploring the different options at home practicing and really getting comfortable with it is the best way to get yourself comfortable with going out and booking gigs. Having friends support you, and again, remembering that we're all in the industry together. We're all supporting each other, and we're all helping each other. Does anybody have any questions about kind of the stage sound design aspect?
Oh, we got one over here. I like it. There's a lot of questions coming from this little family here. I like it.
How much is he DJing?
How long have you been DJing?
I have only been DJing 4 years, actually. So I just started 4 years ago when I bought my first little DJ board and started playing and doing just house parties for people.
Any question? Yeah.
Which music do you like the most?
What genre of music do you like the most?
So I really like funk music. I love me some funk music. So I'll go back and play really old school funk artists like I'll play like Miles Davis. I'll go really far back. But then I'll play a lot of remixes of older songs, and that's a way that I get crowds more involved when I want to change them over to my style that I like playing better. Is they want one thing, you work it over that way.
All right, we got a question over.
I'm making you walk.
I know, right?
What's your favorite song?
You have a favorite song?
Oh, that's tough. Right now, I probably won't know it, but it's called "It Gets Better" by Grizz.
Tibbs, I have a question.
Yes.
So how do you determine what is enough? I have a loud enough voice. How do you determine what level of speaker, I don't know, like amplification is appropriate for what size venue?
Do you mean like your tempo, or like how to choose speakers for the size of a room?
I guess how to choose speakers for the size of the room, because I would think I do things with you a lot and stuff. So but if I'm like with Susan, he has a setup like this and it's appropriate for a room this size or double this size, may not be the same setup that it's appropriate for like a festival.
Right.
So how do I determine which is the appropriate size amplification, however that goes?
So it takes a lot of learning what your gear does. So learning your powered versus your passive. So the amount of amplification, and it's really, it takes a lot of research, honestly. You want to look into your speakers, you want to see the frequency. So your frequency means how low of a note and how high of a note that thing can do. And then you, from there, you choose if you need a subwoofer to help supplement that. But, you know, for something like this where we're kind of just doing a speaking environment, you don't need anything more than this. But if you're trying to do something where we were doing like, this was a club and this was a party, we would put this over in this corner of the room and we would have a few more speakers. It's all about how the sound bounces off the walls in the areas. And it's about what you're trying to do with it. You don't want to overpower people. You don't want everybody standing in the back of the room because your speakers are too loud. Because that, I know everybody's had that if you've worked at a club before and they're not your speakers. Somebody else has control and, you know, it's hard. That's the downside of it, is it takes a lot of research. Yeah.
What would you say was your biggest challenge?
DJ. So my biggest challenge actually was switching over from being a club DJ to where I was booking myself and calling places to put myself in there, getting my first call to actually go and DJ somewhere. So that was me trying to realize that they're asking me to play the music that I like to do instead of what I know is gonna work in that bar. And that was really, it took me, I think, about a year, actually, to stop focusing on what I thought that they wanted to hear and focus on what I know that they wanted to hear because it was what I wanted to do. That's the hardest thing so far. I'm sure there's gonna be more challenges.
All right, we got another question over here.
What was your season goal?
What's your goal?
What's my goal?
So it's getting deep. That's
yeah,
deep.
these are
What?
questions. So right now, my goal is I really like the stage side of things and the sound. So right now, my goal is to network more and make my production business a little bit bigger, and then be able to couple that with offering DJ services along with renting speakers and offering multiple other services along with that. But my goal is always ever changing because it's day by day, and I just try to find the next biggest thing that I'm working towards always.
All right, any other questions? Cool. Oh, go ahead, Jim. Got it.
So I just think it's awesome that Tibbs is here, because we were even back here asking him questions about sound as DJs, right? And so I just want to be, I just want to make this one comment. I'm so sorry, Jesus. Being a professional wedding DJ is a skill, okay? Like going to school to be a lawyer or a doctor or a dentist or a nurse or a police officer, okay? There's skills that you have to learn. You have to know how to be a sound engineer, right? You have to know how to market yourself. You have to know how to DJ. You have to know how to MC. All of these things come together to really make you a professional wedding entertainer where you can charge top dollar in your market. I regress my time.
Thank you.
All right, we got another question over here.
How much songs did you write?
How many songs have I wrote?
Yeah, well, no, wrote or does have? Okay. What's your folder? What's your how many songs do you think you got?
A lot.
Throwing them curveballs.
It's more than 10,000. I think I got like 400,000 right now.
Ooh, 400,000 songs. You know what? Let's do that. King James, what do you think?
I probably got the same or some more.
There you go, Gene.
I'm probably like at 300,000.
Ooh, Stardust.
Yeah, I think I'm around there. Like
Yeah.
I'm up there. I have a ton of stuff.
Dolce?
Oh, I've got 10,000, but not these guys got a lot.
I know, right? I thought my 15,000 was like big. I was a big guy on campus. I guess not. Any other questions? Any other questions? Hold on, I'm coming.
No, I don't need your mic.
All right.
Piggybacking off her question with the speakers, would you use speakers that's already in-house, similar to like this venue that has 3 speakers?
So, just from my experience, where I've gone to a lot of venues and sound checked one thing the day before and then come in to find that the sound does not work the same way, I always like to bring my own gear to supplement. Even if I don't bring it out of the car and use it, it's just about that backup thing. It's having your backups and having things just in case something goes wrong. I always prefer to use the house, but again, I'll bring something just in case.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So what I'm gonna do now is, you guys have mics back there. King James, you gonna say something? Go ahead.
I just want to say something on this note. Like this room right here, I've played this room about 1,000 times with just 2 of these speakers, and my bass bottom is half the size of yours. And I'm in that corner over there, and I put 1 speaker there, 1 speaker there, and I got 350 kids in here for a Sweet 16, rocking it. And that's only because you got to know, like you said earlier, you got to know your speakers and know equalization, leveling. Like he was talking about clipping, you don't want to turn, just because you see more people, you go, oh my God, let me turn it up a little. You don't have to do any of that. Once you got your stuff equalized out, you let it stay as is, and you're good to go. You don't need 1 million, oh my God, I gotta get 17 more speakers. You can do it with just these 2 and a small bass bottom. I mean, if you have the more the merrier, that's great, but I do this room all the time, 350 kids, and I'm all the way in the corner back there with my equipment. This whole thing is flooded, they're all having a good time. And it's loud and it's beautiful.
There you go.
It's all about sound, knowing your sound.